All right. If all the buttons worked correctly and everything is safe, we should be live at the moment. And today, joining us, it's been a while, is Steve Gosney, who's a legendary trial attorney out of Florida. How are you doing today, Steve?
Well, thank you very much. Legend. I don't know about legendary in my own mind. Yeah, no, it's great to see you, and I'm glad to see everybody. I have been offline for probably about a month now, but I saw Nate coming on, and I was so what a blessing to have Nate with us now because he went through some stuff, and I was like, that's great. Nate's going to be on, and I've missed you guys, so I thought I'd come on and just say hello and participate to the best of my ability. How's that?
No, it's great. And not only is Nate on, but this is a now co-branded channel. Nate and Eric has been merged into this. So this is as much Nate's channel as it is mine. And we're really trying to bring this forward to the community, get the lawyers together and try to make this thing happen. It's actually running right now on Nate the Lawyer and on the Laidback Law channels. And all of those who are Nate the Lawyer, we're going to run this for a while, maybe an hour, I don't know, but then we'll be cutting it over to Laidback Law. And we're really hoping that if you're enjoying this, you'll follow us there, watch the rest of it, or even go there right now and consider subscribing. We're trying to build this separate channel to do the live streams, cover the legal topics. And in some ways, Nate, I mean, is it fair to say we're workshopping ideas for Nate the Lawyer on here too?
Well, yeah, I think we're all workshopping ideas for Nate the Lawyer also, but I think this gives us a unique opportunity to answer the questions, because putting up a video up, this generally, like if you look at the last video, 4,000 people commenting, and there's a lot of questions. But
Sure.
This gives us the opportunity to actually correspond with the fans and answer the questions in real time, and then have other voices like Steve, who we disagree with a lot of stuff, but you get that perspective from both sides in a respectable way. And you'll see when Joe comes on here and stuff too.
Yeah,
so that's what this meeting is for, is to allow us to actually have that contact with the audience. What you were saying, Steve?
right. Well, no, I was saying that we have. Then one of the nice things I like about this forum particularly is and other, but this forum, for example, is that people, I think, try to not go ad hominem attacks. We're trying to seek out the truth. We agree that there is a truth to be had, but we're trying to reach that, and we offer up our opinions and aren't attacking each other. And this sort of forum is really important because the world is so polarized. And I have my strong opinions, you have your strong opinions, but we can still respect each other as human beings. I can still be happy that you're with us, and I can still be happy that and I respect you enough to know that you're doing your best to put forward the truth that you, as you see it, and trying to convince me. And maybe you won't convince me, maybe I won't convince you, but through the dialogue, maybe others can be enlightened, and we can better ourselves and better our own arguments and try to get closer to that truth that we're all seeking.
By the way, on that note, I'm sorry. I did want to say in the chat, because a lot of people complain about it, like there's some general guidelines, if you will, like don't spam the chat. Like if you put in a comment, once or twice, that's fine, but don't keep repeating the same comment over and over and over. Don't use all caps. That's yelling at people. And last of all, don't attack people personally. Attack ideas and not people. And I really just want to stress that, because that's kind of the theme of the show. We can get really heated at times, but we're attacking the ideas. We're attacking the concept. We're not attacking each other personally. And I think that's one of the reasons that, this has been going on for 5 years.
Yeah. And it's hard to find those forums now where we have somebody, people who disagree respectfully. And so I try, and we all fail. I fall down, I'm sure. And everybody's fallen down and other things, but at least we're trying, and we're trying to do our best to communicate with each other. And I think we need more of that. So let's plunge ahead with that in mind. And Nate, to hell with you.
By the way, I just interrupted Nate when I said that, so I kind of betrayed my own thing. So Nate, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I forgot what I was even going to mention. But listen, I'm just happy to be able to speak with people who are intellectually honest, and we get some nice little fire in the game too. Let me read this super chat real quick. At Nate the Lawyer, stay warm with the crazy weather. Be safe and God bless. Yes. Oh, this is my brother, potentially criminal. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing good, guys. How are you?
We're doing well. We're doing well. But now that you're here, I think we could just jump into it, right?
Good to see you, John.
Long time, man. Long time no see. Oh, it's good. Good to see you, Nate.
All right. So what's first up, Nate? Continuation of Don Lemon, because we got a little bit
church arrest.
Right. Go ahead.
So just to give, I'll give everybody the rundown. Thursday, January 22nd, 2026, Attorney General of the United States, Pam Bondi, who is the best Attorney General ever. Everyone in the chat knows that. I'm telling you, best Attorney General ever, no matter what anybody says.
For the first time, somebody describes her as such. I would say that she is the best Attorney General Fox panelist I've ever seen.
that has a qualifier.
Well, all right. So Pam Bondi, she announced the arrest of 3 key figures from the church incident that happened in Minnesota. So if those of you don't remember, Don Lemon went into a church and they plan to, I don't want to say they plan to go in and obstruct church services. Here's a quick clip I'll play right now of what happened so people can see why they were charging these people. Sorry.
No worries.
StreamYard, I have to share the screen before I play it, but StreamYard.
And you get to see a little bit of how the sausage is made, folks. You watch Nate's channel, you see these polished videos and everything else, but we make it a little rougher here. So we're like a diamond in the rough. You get to see a little, oh wait, is StreamYard working? How are we doing on this? Is this helping? It's very helpful.
This is from Don Lemon's channel. This is what he
This is according to Operation Pull Up, that one of the pastors here is a member of ICE. And so here we go.
You could talk to the lead pastor.
Yeah.
Let me show you.
Okay. And so the pastor is over there. And so they're screaming Renee Good.
Now, even in this clip, Don Lemon actually admits that there are people who are intimidated, people crying in the corner, those type of things. And with that, then we have the legal aspect of it. Were any crimes committed? So 2 crimes that you'll hear a lot of commentators talking about is first the FACE Act. And the FACE Act was the act that was used against abortion clinics back in the days. I had it here.
Well, it's still used now, but yeah.
It's
the FACE Act in 1994.
It's called the Freedom of Access to Clinic Interests Act, and it also applies to places of worship. And the 3. Go ahead.
No. I was just saying. I'm like, yep, and it's this is the only time I think I've probably ever said it. Thank God for Orrin Hatch. He snuck in this little thing about like, oh, you can't screw with churches either.
Yeah. The elements. Let's go through the elements. The elements is 1, you have to have force, threat of force, or physical obstruction. You have to have intent to injure, intimidate, or interfere. And there has to be a nexus to the worship. The act was done because the person was exercising their First Amendment right to religious freedom at a place of worship. Now, just to be clear, the magistrate judge rejected the FACE Act is a misdemeanor. And the magistrate judge who had to sign off on the arrest warrants rejected this act for both Don Lemon and the 2 women who were arrested, but not the 3rd guy. The 3rd guy is still potentially could be charged with, but the first 2 people were not charged with the FACE Act. And then the second, which 3 of the 4 people were charged with, is called it's the Klan Act. 18 U.S.C. Section 241. It's a reconstruction, and that has 4 elements too. You have to have an agreement between 2 or more people, but the intent in this one is different. It's the intent to injure, oppress, threaten, or intimidate any person, and the conspiracy has to be targeted to the free exercise or enjoyment of their rights secured by the Constitution. Here, the freedom of religion. So this is the felony, which seems to be more what they were able to get through the magistrate judge. And the magistrate judge, and remember, we're talking about, you don't have to prove these elements beyond a reasonable doubt. You have to prove these elements by what's it called, probable cause, which is extremely low. Essentially, does it look like a crime has been committed? And if so, are the people who you're about to seize, did they commit this crime? So, so right now, the
Now,
three people.
Nate, really quickly, from what I understand, that while they're not charging everybody, that doesn't mean that there's the end of the road. Like I think Phil Holloway was saying that the magistrate is not the end of the line. If the feds want to pursue it further, it can go before a federal grand jury or a circuit court judge. Is that correct?
So first, let me go with what they're charged with, and then I'll go with what happened with Lemon. So the first person, her name is Nakima Armstrong. She organized the event, and the magistrate judge specifically said the FACE Act doesn't work because he ruled that there was no evidence that they used force to physically block people from leaving, because the FACE Act was conservatives were blocking people from entering and leaving the abortion clinic. That's essentially what you need for the FACE Act. So they said there is no evidence based on the video that people were being stopped from leaving. There were actually people who were able to leave and come into the church even while they were protesting.
Well,
Oh, I see. So you could chase them out. That's cool.
yeah,
But
well, and that's where I think this is wrong, because there's a case recently where and this is where one of the DC judges got really famous for being a complete scumbag. A bunch of people, they had gone into the one abortion clinic in DC, and they had basically like chained themselves inside to the door. And they've done things just to make it hard for you to get in and out. They weren't using like force in the sense of like, oh, we're going to kick it off with you if you try to do anything about your abortions. And, you know, they sent a 75-year-old lady to prison for 2 years in the District of Columbia. So it's like this idea, this judge saying, oh, this isn't what it's meant for. I'm like, if this isn't what the FACE Act was meant for, I don't know what it's meant for at this point.
Well, but let's can we start with the premise that this type of political tactic is repulsive and I don't like it. Okay. And I don't like that people are doing this. Okay. But now what Nate is addressing is he's getting into the specifics of the charges, and you start with a statute and you look at the elements of the statute and you apply it to see whether the elements are met. And I think there also needs to be a distinction between individual cases. So what did Don Lemon do as a reporter, and his participation, what his knowledge is, and the conspiracy element of it, and break that out from other people who may be active conspirators, who may have been, because obviously there was an intent here by a group to go in and disrupt a church service, and they did that. But Don Lemon participated in that, but was he acting as a reporter or as an active co-conspirator? So we got to be very careful, because criminal charges are specific. And I like the way that Nate kind of started with those acts and said, are these elements present as to this individual? And we need to be very careful when we're talking criminal charges. Unfortunately, there's an equal protection question, but let's continue with the criminal analysis, because that's kind of, we're lawyers and we look at that. But I mean, I think we also need to start with it. I don't like this tactic. I don't like what they did. It's obnoxious and they should be punished politically. But punished criminally is a separate issue. And so that's kind of where we are.
So yes. So I'll get back to, so the two women, Nakia Armstrong and Chantel Allen, they said the FACE Act does not apply because there was no force, because with them, the FACE Act, they weren't physically blocking people from leaving, that type of thing. So that's why the FACE Act didn't apply to them, nor does it apply to Don Lemon, because you missed that element. There was no probable cause to show that element even existed in the video that the judge said he watched.
So basically we're saying, as to Don Lemon specifically, and the FACE Act specifically, you're saying there was no evidence of him blocking people from leaving, and therefore that statute doesn't apply. And so we have to be careful. It doesn't mean he's not guilty of some other crime.
No.
or what he did was right. What it means is this particular thing. So we've got to be careful because people they want to get in their team and let's start fighting over.
And if that's the criteria, though, the William Kelly guy wasn't going around either obstructing people or threatening to fight anybody. He was just running around struggle sessioning people.
Struggle sessioning.
No, he was. This is some like Maoist communist tactics. Like, why aren't you down there? He's screaming at them. Why aren't you in the federal building with me? These, save your brown, your Latino and Lahecan, Somali neighbors. The guy was doing it.
Well, no, I agree. I just have never heard of struggle sessioning as a verb.
Well, yeah, that's where it came from, was China. Yeah.
Well, let me do this. Let me just, so what I'll do is I'm just gonna let me explain who was charged with what they weren't charged with, and then we can argue the final point. So,
but by the way, Eric, below in the chat, we do know that it's coming up.
Oh, so Don Lemon and the two organizers, the two women who organized it, the FACE Act didn't apply because the judge said he didn't see any. Remember, it was the forced and physical blocking people from leaving or entering. He said there was no evidence of that, even on the video in the best light of the government. So that didn't stick. But what they were charged with was 241, which is the Klan Act. And that they were charged with that because, number one, you didn't have to be physically blocking people. The disruption, harassment, and all that could count. And there was evidence that they disrupted the church service. There was evidence that there was the conspiracy element where they planned it, and we have the video of that. And then there was the element of the deprivation of rights. They went in there to interrupt the church service. So there was, again, I'm not saying the two women are guilty of this. I'm saying that the judge said there was probable cause based on the video he saw that they conspired to come together to disrupt this church service in this particular way.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I shine a little bit here? And that's great analysis, and I love the way you're approaching it. And I agree with everything you said up to this point. One of the reaction, I'm reading the chat as we go. I can't chat in there, but there's a lot of people on the conservative side, the right side, or whatever you want to call it, who are upset because of the disparate application of law to them as opposed to people. It's like we grant all the benefits of these things, and then, but if you're a conservative and you're on the right, it's like all these distinctions go away, and so the bar has been lowered such that there's an equal protection problem. So we're going to get to that. I think we're going to have a discussion about that, but let's let Nate continue the what I would call the way the analysis should go in a real jurisdiction with a real criminal law, and let's look at it fairly before we get into the partisanship aspect of it.
And I want to make it very clear, everyone. What I'm trying to do is establish a baseline of understanding. So when we do go to the video and we go to the facts, you guys understand. Oh, I don't see this element. Oh, I understand. So because it just makes it easier for all of us to go through it together if you guys understand the elements and the reasoning before we go into the evidence. So that's the reason why the two women were charged with 241. The agitator, William Kelly, the one who was screaming at people, the FACE Act is still possible, but the magistrate judge did sign the arrest warrant because, he was based on the conspiracy element of it, the fact that they're all in agreement to do this. The one who was not arrested and the judge didn't believe that there was any probable cause to arrest was Don Lemon. So he didn't believe Don Lemon. The FACE Act didn't apply because he said Don Lemon obviously wasn't blocking anybody from leaving. It's on video. And then he rejected Don Lemon's he rejected the government's assertion that John Lemon was a co-conspirator. The judge viewed Don Lemon as a reporter covering a newsworthy event and not a co-conspirator. The judge specifically said that that beforehand knowledge and coordination with the event does not make him a co-conspirator to the crime. He could, even though he could have been charged as an accessory, but there's a First Amendment protection for embedded journalists and all this other stuff.
That was what I was asking about yesterday, Nate, when I said about the embedded journalists in Iraq, and could somebody make the claim? It sounds like the judge was listening to me, even though I do feel like Don went a little above and beyond in that regard. But
this is interesting, and I
make this one point before you start, because it's a hot point on it. I call it the combination of rights. Don Lemon's free speech rights and his First Amendment journalistic rights versus the rights of the parishioners, and that's where it seems to have this particular crossroads. Whose rights kind of overcome, and generally the thing is my right to swing my arm stops at your nose, right?
Sure.
So that's where we're going. You know, whose rights in this particular thing goes. Go ahead, Steve. I'm sorry I cut you off.
No, it's fine. That's a good point. And this is where I have a question. I've reviewed a little bit of information before I came here. I watched Legal Mindset's analysis on it. Was excellent. But I'm not certain about the specific facts of Don Lemon's conspiracy. So what was his agreement with this organization? Was he part of it? How active was he? Because it's very fact dependent, that question. And I think that if the state alleges it and has evidence to support it, I think the magistrate may have been going too far by making factual determinations when assessing the actual warrant. But I don't know the specific facts of the conspiracy of Don Lemon with the group.
Well, I mean, in a way, I get the embedded thing. That's actually really good kind of way to look at it, Eric. But he was hanging out with these guys. He was going with them. He's in the car while they're driving. They're saying, like, it sounds like an embedded reporter with, the Marines. Like, hey, guys, we're going somewhere. I can't tell you where we're going, but we're going to go do something. And then, he shows up. They're there, and it all kicks off, and he runs inside. If I don't think that would have been a problem.
Let me do this. Let me play the intent. What the government is considering to be Don Lemon's conspiracy part, the part where he essentially is going over what's happening and why they're saying he did meet the conspiratorial part of this, the agreement between two or more people.
So they're planning an operation that we're going to follow them on. I can't tell you exactly what they're doing, but it's called Operation Pull Up. And it's Takima Armstrong, and she has been doing this since George Floyd, Dante Wright, and others, where they surprise people, catch them off guard, and hold them to account. And so that's what we're doing here. And then after we do this operation, you'll see it live and use these operations as surprise operations. Again, you can't tell you where they're going.
So that's him saying, I can't tell you where I'm going. And then here's another clip of him actually speaking with the person who is going to. Here's another clip of, again, this is what the government is saying that turned him from a reporter to a co-conspirator. See,
they're getting the operation together. Again, this is an operation that is a secret, that they invited folks out. Can't tell you what is going to happen, but you're going to watch it live unfold here on the Don Lemon Show. There are for this reason.
Somebody said pause? Oh,
for this reason, it may look like MAGA coded, but there's a reason they have so many white people here. I'm just going to be honest. It's because of the operation that they're doing today. It's important to have allies, as I said, white allies here. So that is what I could say. I turned our camera off of them because they're giving some critical information here. But there we go. Everybody's ready to go.
So now everybody's ready to go. So he's with them at the beginning. Everybody's ready to go, right? Here's him speaking to the organizer. Again, we're watching this to see if Don Lemon is just an embedded reporter or if he's one of the organizers.
Clandestine operation. We show up somewhere that is a key location. They don't expect us to come there, and then we disrupt business as usual.
So now, and this is the last clip where Don Lemon is actually in the car, and he is now going to tell us, again, this is just, remember, we're talking about whether he is involved in a conspiracy to go and violate these people's rights, or is he just an embedded journalist. It's like when you're with the Army, like Eric said yesterday. So here's the last part where they're going to disrupt.
Okay, so we are here now. Do you think if you just have it, I think maybe if you just have it on the church, but if they see me, they're gonna know. No?
It just depends.
What?
Don't name the location.
I'm not naming the location, but I mean, I'm just wondering if
at
you
some
see
point,
me, the
but
folks inside see me.
Are the congregants really on live instead of in service right now?
No, but they'll be like, why is Don Lemon here?
Pause, Nate.
Yeah.
This is yesterday, and I discussed it where I thought this was him projecting the mindset of I'm involved with this. If they see me, the gig is going to be up. That there were a million, a bunch of reasons that people could see Don Lemon at a church and not think anything other than Don Lemon as a journalist was covering the services. I'm being honest. If I saw him, the first thing in my mind would not be, oh, we're about to be disrupted. It would be, okay, well, Don Lemon is covering us. Maybe he's getting B-roll. Maybe he's going to ask us questions going in and out. I would not think, oh, he's here because he's, the leading edge of a disruption.
I would think that, though, because you've never been in church and a reporter just randomly walks in, like, right in the middle. Like, I think it's clear what's going on, especially in this environment, though. And the bigger thing that establishes, I think, his participation in this is he's out there basically hassling people. If you don't agree, like anybody who disagreed with him, that old guy, there's no this isn't really a both ways situation. I mean, it's like a bank robbery, and like they're robbing the bank, and he walks in, it's like, sir, how do you feel about them taking the money? I know they're stealing your money, but no, don't you understand? They're gonna use this money for a good cause. They say they're gonna buy toys for little children. How do you feel about that? And no. And like his actions alone show that was advocacy. It wasn't there's both sides to this. There's only one side to this story in his
I want to push
and
back
I think it's clear that he wasn't willing to entertain anything else.
Well, I do want to push back a little bit, Sean, because I think your bank robbery analogy, I would change it a little bit. From what we just watched, what Don Lemon was saying, he's not saying it's like right now he's sitting in front of the bank before they rob it and said, I don't want to go into the bank because I'll give it up. I'll give up this, they'll know
I think
the
he also realized it's kind of sketchy to go in there. He's like,
and then when they start robbing the bank, I go in and ask people, how do you feel about being robbed? So now does that change it from if you know
it's happening,
going to happen, and if you're going to, and he's admitting, if I go in there, I'm going to spoil the surprise, and the surprise is criminal activity, unfortunately. So it's just hard for me to say that he's not a co-conspirator when he's saying,
I agree.
I don't want to give up the bag. What say you, Steve?
I get this is fascinating because I am not yet convinced that and here's the distinction that I'm making, because I had a criminal case I remember way back when, and there was somebody who was charged, and I was the prosecutor, and I felt that they were a witness and not a participant in the crime. And I actually got them out of jail. They were on a first-degree felony, and I got them out of jail and dropped the charges against them. And I was proud of that because I felt that the person that was just part of the group, and one of the guys in the group went in and did a home invasion, and he was just standing there. And, and I'm not certain that at this point that Lemon's not just a witness. And he has knowledge of what's happening, but is he
really? When he said we are going to go in there, he's talking about plans that are being devised.
So he's aware of the plans, and he is putting himself in a position to witness the plans. But what is his active responsibility to prevent the crime, or is he just a witness, a bystander?
Well, I'm not saying he has to prevent it. I'm not. There's no obligation for him to prevent it.
Okay.
But
what's his obligation if he's along for the ride and witnesses the crime? He needs to actively promote, and he has to actively be part of the conspiracy to disrupt the church service.
And you don't think? I mean, like if you listen to, well, I don't say because I don't think you've seen it yet. He is clearly on their side and is fully in the tank. Like he questions the pastor. Well, I know that, but he questions the pastor. There isn't, you guys might be right. And he said, like, you need to leave. And Don's like,
ask him to leave,
I guess I probably should leave.
Okay, but
I think he clearly understands. He's like, I'm not here to be a journalist. I'm here to be a propagandist. I'm here to be an advocate. because they're
Okay, but
once
that-
again, they're
but
you
he's-
know,
you're allowed. Okay, first of all, let's talk
Yeah.
about the private property thing because
Mhm.
Legal Mindset had an analysis about this. The church is private property. Okay, so they can exclude who they want, but it is also open to the public.
their time, place, and manner restrictions to all of that.
I appreciate
I can
that,
walk
but
in-
they-
I can
but
walk
let's say
into
you enter the church and they
Yeah.
don't want you there because you're a different denomination. All right. And so they say, okay, Gosney, I want you to leave. And you leave. There has been no crime committed. You have not trespassed until you've been given notice of trespass by the property owner. So
that's
you go
not
in,
always
if
true,
you don't
though.
believe and he leaves, there's no trespass.
That's not true. That's not true.
Why is
If
that?
you go so if I'm at that church and I walk into the rectory and I walk all the way back through the back offices, well, nobody's told me to leave. Part of trespass can also be established. Like you're wandering, you find a house and you just walk into it. Like you're
Yeah,
not
but
supposed
this is
to
an
be there.
open. The service. is
Well, I'm
open.
just
That's
saying
different from a
it's an
private
open
residence.
building, but
There
Well,
are
and
public
you
and
are-
private areas within a building.
there's a lot of things here. But this idea, like, if I walk into a lecture hall and I just start screaming like an asshole at people, well, nobody told me to leave. It's like,
Well, they
there are
did tell
times-
him to leave, Steve.
Well,
So
well,
that's
well,
part of the
well,
problem
well,
is that they
Did
did say
he
leave.
after he
Hold
was
on.
gone?
Let's play the part where Don Lemon was specifically asked to leave, and he refused to leave. He continued on after. So look, so I'm going to play that part right now, so we can clear that up. Here it is. And this is the pastor who's going to ask him to leave. Don Lemon talks to the freedom of
Jesus, because that's the hope of these.
worship Jesus, and they are now being intimidated.
Here to worship Jesus, because that's the hope of these cities. That's the hope of the world is Jesus Christ.
I want to be very respectful. Please don't push me, though.
We're here to worship Jesus.
I wish we would've
That's why
punched
we're
him.
here.
Yeah, pause
Okay?
again, Nate,
That's
because
why
that
we're
was very annoying. His little "please don't push me" flopping, I think would be the term for that. He's leaning into the guy. He's in the guy's personal space, and the guy's kind of like,
Eric,
go-
can we do
back
this?
up.
Let me just, because this clip is pretty quick. Let's finish the clip and
All
then we'll go back, because if we keep cutting it up, it's going to take a long time. Let me just finish this last like 3 or 4 seconds, and then we'll go back to your point. So remember your point.
That's what we're about.
Don't you think Jesus would be understanding and
We're about
love these folks?
We're about spreading the love of Jesus.
But did you try to talk to them as a
No
Christian?
one is willing to talk.
Okay.
I have to take care of my church and my family, so I asked if you actually would also leave this building.
You don't want us to
Unless you're here to
chronicle what
worship.
happened?
Unless you're here to worship.
I'm always worship. I'm a Christian.
We're here to worship.
Yeah.
We're here to worship. Okay.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, now I'm going to throw it back to you guys. So now, Eric, I'm sorry I cut you off, but I just want to just let that play out. Go ahead.
Oh, well, it's just a quick point. I think I already made it. That he played the whole "don't push me" when he was invading the pastor's space, in my opinion, and I don't feel it was a push. Both hands were kind of up in a sort of surrendering gesture, like calm, please don't, or whatever. And that was disingenuous. And he even leaned in further. So after he said, "Don't push me," he's leaning in, and the pastor, you could see, is physically leaning away from him. So I feel like that was disingenuous at best.
And also from watching these protests, like I would say this, it's very clear the moment you give these anti-ICE protesters, they get an ounce of resistance, they immediately go full tilt on people. Like, it's clear they're not afraid of using violence. They'll use violence very quickly. They'll use it very indiscriminately. So it's very clear what's going on here. And, was Don Lemon using that as help me, fellow communist? I don't know, but this is not an impartial journalist. Like it's
and I'm agreeing with all of what you're saying,
Yeah.
and I dislike this guy like you would believe, and I don't like the tactics, and this is all repulsive to me. All right, but I'm questioning. My question is, and I've yet to see it, the conspiracy, the crime. Now, I think when Made makes the point about the FACE Act, I think that is a correct. I don't see the FACE Act.
Yeah, I don't see
now
the FACE Act.
the conspiracy the KKK Act. And this is, and I haven't seen all the videos like Nate, you guys, and this is educating to me.
Yeah.
But I want to see the active conspiracy that Don Lemon has that distinguishes him from a witness who has foreknowledge, who goes along to witness it, as opposed to actively participating. Now, I suspect, and I agree with
that
you.
right
and of
there is
course,
the active participation.
Well, and he just being a witness?
Well, hold on. Can I ask you something on that, Steve? Because we were using the bank robbery analogy earlier, and what I heard of it was he confirmed with them that so we are going to go in and disrupt the gathering. So I think all of us agree that
the we was very damning.
No, but can I finish? Can I finish? Because I think that we agree disrupting the services is probably a criminal act, right? It's illegal. You don't go just disrupting services, correct?
Right, and he says we are going to go and disrupt.
So therefore, that is part of what we're saying. I think is the conspiracy is we are going to go doing. Now, it wasn't a case of I'm just sitting here. So okay, what's going on now? No. He said we are doing that. That's taking ownership of it. It's not just them. We Don and crew are doing this. So I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Nate.
No, I was going to let Steve finish because he was making his point.
Well, I'm learning. This is fascinating because I'm being the devil's advocate here. Being the defense attorney, right? And but I want to make it clear. I really dislike this guy, and I don't like what they're doing. And I do think the best charge is the conspiracy under the KKK Act. But I want to see the agreement. The best evidence I've seen so far that Nate has played is the use of the word "we." But again, are you going to hang your entire prosecution on that word? He's like, well, we were going in. I mean, there's a lot of wiggle room there. So
not only that though. You can't let me go in first because then the jig is up. So that's even more. So it's not just it's a Freudian slip of we.
I wouldn't recognize that guy. I mean,
but I think what we have to also too is number one.
It doesn't matter that people don't recognize him. He thinks that.
Yeah, he's
right.
He's the
other people's intent isn't important here. It's his intent.
Their intent is to violate the law. He's saying if I go in, I'm going to spoil it so they can't violate the law in the way they want. And then I would also just make this particular point too, with Don Lemon specifically. I think I totally agree with you, Steve. I think when you're talking about making this conspiracy, it's a very thin line because if you say this is a conspiracy, you really open up the box. But I think with Don, the problem that happened with Don, unfortunately, is that his language gives you that conspiracy talk. We are going to do this. We are going to do this. We're going to do this. And then after everything blows up, it's like, I didn't know anything. And I think if you got pre-planning, you have this, and he's now been asked to leave because that was one of the things that we were discussing. Was he even asked to leave? He was asked to leave and didn't leave. So
and there's also the aspect that, we need to get to the equal protection question about different standards applied to the right and the left. But before we get there, another thing is that the reason they are doing this disruption is to produce some sort of content and some sort of video for Don Lemon and his little news media. So the idea is for his participation is what made these people do this performance art, Antifa performance art, to go and attack their enemies and to create some kind of video. So he is an active participant in that. He is a cog that functions as part of this little disruptive group. They weren't going in there. They were going in there to disrupt, but they were also going in there to create video that they would think would be helpful to their cause. And he is the active person in that part of that. He's part of that conspiracy, right?
Counselor, with that, what you just said, is there probable cause to believe that he's part of a conspiracy? I'm not saying he's guilty because there's a difference. I'm saying is there probable cause from what you've just seen that you can make the argument that he is participating in a conspiracy to violate the rights of the churchgoers?
Well, the best piece, like I said, is the use of the word "we." That he clearly has foreknowledge, right? He knows about the plan to disrupt the church. But is he a ride-along or is he an active participant? The fact that the purpose of this disruption is to create content, and he is the element that adds that. So
the beneficiary.
It's tricky. It's not as easy a question as we may say. Now, I will say also that if we lower the bar to the standard that the left applies to the right in, say, January 6th, then clearly there's probable cause, right? I mean, because it's like, well, everybody's guilty. Let's arrest everybody. But let's look at it carefully. I'm I'm on the fence, and when I'm doing a prosecution, I want that stuff nailed down. So it may exist, but I want it nailed down, right?
Yeah, yo, no. You know what, Eric, if you can you read a lot, because a lot of super chats are coming in, especially about this particular situation. So maybe we got like 10 minutes, so they don't get backed up on us, because they really want to know they really want to ask us.
No. I think that's cool, and we're going to be shifting over to the Laid Back Law channel at some point here.
Yeah, in about 10 minutes we should be.
10 minutes, okay. And I just want people to know. So, if you can consider going over there right now. There's 2,500 of you on the Nate the Lawyer channel. Again, we're going to be cutting over. There's a link in the description. Please consider heading over there. So then that way there's no disturbance, in the channel should also redirect if you're hanging out. But
yeah.
Anyway,
Striker,
Nate the Lawyer, stay warm with this crazy weather. Be safe and well, what about us, man? What about us? I mean, you got LawTube Sean. He lives in Ohio. You know that's going to be bitter cold.
Well, I already still have snow on the ground, so I'm okay. I expect this.
And I'm in Virginia. I mean, it's a little bit.
You guys are going to get smoked.
You know, at my office today, somebody put the air conditioner down to 71. So I had to turn it up to 73 to get it back to like normal here in Miami.
Oh, there you go. GA Black and Gold, love the channel. Joining late. Could any of them also be charged with 241 or 247? I don't know what those are.
We are talking. They have been charged with 240.
Yeah.
So we know 247 is the one that I believe that's the FACE Act, and we don't believe
248 is the FACE Act.
248, yeah, because I don't think the FACE Act. Even though I don't like Don, I'm going to say it. I think the judge was right in saying, based on what the FACE Act is, it just doesn't apply.
Or the way that we apply the FACE Act
does. The KKA does. I mean, we're talking about what isn't, but that's a misdemeanor. The felony is the more serious one.
Yeah,
which is good. I mean, if you have to pick one, the Klan Act's better for people who are against the action.
And Nate, I have a question for you, and this is something I was thinking about. If this wasn't Don Lemon, CNN anchor, famous Leheckin reporter, but it was the reporter from the Gooberville, Minnesota newspaper or whatever, just like a random journalist. I think that we'd be looking at a little bit different calculus here. I mean, I think part of Don Lemon's protection right now is that he's Don Lemon. Like I said, if he was just Joe Schmo from the Gooberville News, I think this would have already been a foregone conclusion.
Can I follow up on that too? In that a lot of these journalists love to talk smack about pajamas, journalists, self-appointing journalists, people who are bloggers and people who don't have a big organization. But Don Lemon, he's acting as Don Lemon. He's like one guy. But I'm a reporter. So it's interesting that he's now buying into the whole conservative media argument that Nate's a media person, potentially criminal. You're one guy, but you are a journalist in yourself as an individual. You don't need a big organization to have the free press protections. So I love the fact that he's fallen back on that argument, which is the conservative argument.
Which ironically, I'll just point out, everybody knows that Don Lemon got fired on the same day as somebody else who's on the other side of the aisle, so to speak, and that's Tucker Carlson.
Yep.
A lot of people don't realize that, but they got fired the exact same day. More super chats. There's a lot in here. Chris Creative 2245. So if I know a group that's going to rob a bank and I'm with them as a reporter, do I get off?
Well, again, a lot of times in those particular cases, the reporters don't know what's about to happen. Like you see the sex trafficking in Vox. The first thing they'll say is, "We don't know where we're going. We don't know what's happening. We're just following and just recording what happened." In this case, I think you can make the argument. He's saying, "No, I know exactly what's going to happen. I know exactly where we're going, and I'm not trying to spoil the fun if I walk in earlier." And I think that calculus makes things a little bit more complicated for Don Lemon.
I agree.
Somebody just mentioned in chat, what does it take to be a journalist? If you are reporting on newsworthy events, you are a journalist. So we're all. I hate to use it. It's like rush hour. It's like I'd rather be seen as a drug dealer than a journalist. But yes, we're all technically journalists here. So,
Attack. What is that? The pizza? Okay. Tancrat. Doesn't FACE Act include attempts to intimidate or interfere with any person lawfully exercising or seeking 1A It doesn't have to obstruct access. How can the magistrate ignore that?
Because one of the elements is about access and obstruction. And he's saying, if you watch that video, yes, they're disruptive. Yes, they're yelling, but they're not saying no one can leave or nobody can come in. Everyone has free access. Matter of fact, in the video, there are people leaving and coming in. So that's why the FACE Act is less likely to apply. And the magistrate didn't let any of them get charged with the FACE Act.
I want to point out, though, that the idea of like, oh, well, they can leave anytime. We can run people out, and, harass them and run them out is a little sickening. But I guess that's the Klan Act aspect of it.
And I think the idea that, oh, there was no force. I'm like, are you telling you want people to kick it off with someone comes into your church? You have to kick it off with them to make this law apply? Like, I think that's a little ridiculous.
Well, okay, Sean, let me I'm going to push back, because what we want to do is we want to charge appropriately.
I agree.
So which charge? Because it's like, well, why don't we charge them with burglary, or why don't we charge them? What do you mean can't charge them with burglary? Well, it was an open. Well, but they should be burglars, and it's like. It's like, well, this doesn't apply to them. But the KKK Act seems to me is a perfect fit. Exactly what it describes what it is, and it criminalizes it. So let's charge them appropriately with a felony, and the other stuff, it's like, okay, it doesn't apply. Well, it should apply. You're fighting a battle that you don't need to fight.
I understand, but I'm just telling you, I think the magistrate wasn't being fair and impartial.
I don't know. It's a tough thing.
I mean, that's going to be the bigger problem here.
Job. If this was somebody looking for a secret warrant against a conservative Republican on the Capitol Hill, there'd be a whole different standard applied, right? So this is where we're talking about this disproportionate treatment between the left and the right. However, as a fair-minded person, I want them charged with the right crime, the highest crime that can be charged that appropriately fits the circumstances, which is the KKK Act.
Well, I do want to make it, but before we get to the next super chat, I do want to make a point on the judge. The judge's wife works for the Minnesota Attorney General, Keith Ellison. She's I think a staffer there or something like that. And they're saying that and Keith and the Attorney General went on Don Lemon's show and was like, hey, any charges or BS. So they're making the point that there may be some conflict of interest between the judge, his wife, and the fact that the judge's wife's boss is going on the show saying that criminal charges for a particular would be unnecessary for Don Lemon.
And
I don't know if that's
a big problem, though, Nate. And I think we need to talk about that. I don't want to interrupt your analysis because it's great what you're doing, but this is the problem. This is the real problem. What's going on, and that is that the left is being allowed to go nuts and go wild without any kind of state law enforcement, without prosecutors prosecuting hate crimes, because they're of the political left. A person who's conservative that wants to go and do the same thing would get hammered, and the key would be thrown away. And so that is a real problem. The mob is being used as a weapon to intimidate people, and it's only one way. The Ellison is a crazy radical leftist, and he's not going to. If you're on the left, there's no enemies on the left, and he won't prosecute anybody. And that's the real problem we're talking about. I mean, Sean's bringing up points because they're reacting to the injustice of the fact that all these protections are being afforded to Don Lemon. But when it goes to the laws are being applied disproportionately in an extreme way in Minnesota right now.
And Steve, you answer. You now get my you would disagree with saying that point is the way we should operate, but it's the way we need to operate because we are at that stage. And this is something I brought up, and I talked about this. If this happens in the District of Minnesota, which is where it's going to happen, these guys are probably going to get acquittals or hung juries. They're probably not going to get convicted. They're going to be tried in Minneapolis, or even if they get tried in any of the other district courts in Minnesota. Minnesota's Democrat Party is known as the Farmer Labor Party, like in their name, the hammer and sickle. Like they really are a very left-wing state.
Well, the Communist Party came out of Minnesota. The actual communist, American Communist Party, or whatever you want to call it, did come out of Minnesota many years ago. Yes,
and we're seeing it more and more. Like the guy who towed the ICE vehicles out of the way while they're working. He was clearly interfering and jerking them around.
I thought that was California.
Yeah, it was in LA.
Okay, well, I just want to make sure. I mean,
Yeah,
Minnesota's got enough
Yeah.
paint, going on them. I want to be sure and say no.
I'm just saying though, like across the country, people are rebelling against the government because it's politically and ideologically not something they support. So they're getting jury nullification on that. The guy up in Seattle who rammed the federal agents, and like actually totaled a car fighting them, he got acquitted. Like we are at that stage where, we are at the without rule of law stage. And these guys certainly are probably going to walk at the end of the day.
No, we need to definitely read a few of these, and we're going to be shifting over.
Let's try to rapid fire.
Hold on, this is 50. Hold on, this is $50. We need to spend a minute on that. Come on. Join late, so forgive me if this has been addressed. If a reporter is told about a bank robbery, goes to the bank with the robbers, interviews the robbers and the staff during the robbery, and leaves, does he receive first aid? We did discuss this. We discussed this exact scenario a little while ago. I don't want to ignore it, but I don't want to repeat it either because there's so many super chats. We did discuss that exact scenario.
And I think we all came to the conclusion, if bank robberies, number one, are inherently violent, and on top of that, if you do know of the bank robbery and if you can definitely make the case, it may be more of a conspiracy versus just foreknowledge. And understand the courts are very, very, they don't want to lock up journalists if they get tips that things are about to happen. So that's right. The thing right there. And in some instances, they may say, hey, you got a tip. But in other instances, let's say if you're sitting there planning, they say, we're going to use these cards. We're going to go to this place. This is how we're going to enter. If you know like the real in-depth of the details, then I think you're more conspiracy than you are in just reporting. And that's the thing the judges are figuring out now. And I also think the judge is wrong because the standard here is probable cause. And if you talk about probable cause, I think you have enough probable cause to charge, but I don't think I think you're far away from a conviction in this particular instance. I just don't think I don't think you can make that case as of right now. Go ahead.
All right, now at this point, we're going to go ahead and shift this to the Layback Law channel, just so everybody knows before we leave. There's another major story that we will be covering. We're going to be going through super chat. So if you left a super chat here, just hang out. It will be read. You'll still see it on the other channel, even if you left it on Nate the Lawyer. We'll be putting them up, going through them as best we can. But we have another big story we were going to be covering on the Layback Law channel, and that is all about warrantless searches and arrests that are going on in Minnesota. And I know you guys are going to want to hear about that. I have a feeling Steve is going to come down on one side and might be the same side as me. So I hope that you continue watching. If you sit there, you should be taken, just transferred right on over. If not, click a link in the description, click a link in the chat. But I hope to see you on Layback Law, and please consider subscribing while you're there.
We will definitely. We are going to read those super chats now. So if you did leave a super chat, just click that link or just wait, and you'll be sipped over, and we're going to go through all these super chats. So thank you guys for stopping by. So we'll see you at Layback Law. All right, Eric. So
we are at Layback Law
because we definitely appreciate you guys doing it, and this is part of the reason why we wanted to do this show.
All right, so let's just rapid fire. Okay, they can always add charges to the complaint and find additional crimes, right? It isn't locked to just the crime that spawned the warrant, correct?
Right.
If there are more charges, I believe they can add them later. Let's see. How about when he says we hold them to account? Is that knowing he is harassing? I would say yes. If
that's a good point. That's a good pickup.
I agree with that.
Good point.
And again, though,
what does
the we?
But again, well, it's a little weak though, because he could say, "Well, I'm holding them account by standing up for what they think they believe." So we're going to let them speak their. I mean, you could argue that. But you could look at it both ways. Is it probable cause? And there's action too. The conspiracy is the key. And let's talk about a conspiracy. What that is. That's an agreement. So he has to have agreement, and then he has to take actions to facilitate the furtherance of that agreement. So did he agree with them to disrupt the church? And did he take an action in furtherance of the conspiracy that aided and abetted that action? So was reporting on it aiding and abetting? It's a tricky question here. I mean, I don't think it's as easy as we want it to be, because we want to nail him to the wall, right?
But you would agree the other two who weren't there reporting, they got them for probable
Well,
cause.
yes, because they were conspiring to disrupt the church service. That's damning. The question is at what point do you become from a witness into an active co-conspirator? Was he actively engaging in disrupting the service? Probably yes. I mean, I think the KKA Act is where you want to be on Lemon.
Oh, I agree. Okay, continue on. A Burley Knoll. Again, we've answered this a few times. If a reporter gets a call from a bank robber, it tells them we're going to rob a bank. Want to come along and document it? Isn't that a crime if you go along with it? Yes. I mean, especially when you say the crime, they have a duty to basically report that a crime's about to happen. Don Lemon purposely obscures the target location to facilitate the actions of these people. He's about to do that right here. I don't know if that's necessarily a problem because, again, using the embedded reporter analogy that I was saying in Iraq or whatever, you're not going to say, hey, we're about to go to Fallujah, especially if you're broadcasting it live, because
that was fun.
Yeah, that
what we're going to do as he drew in the dirt.
But the difference is that
here's a theory.
There's a difference between, foretelling a crime, right? We're going to do a crime versus an embedded, because that technically wouldn't be a crime, right? They're in war. But if it's hey, we're going to go commit this crime.
Well, that's acknowledging the crime, but saying we're going to a place. I mean, they could be going to the church and standing outside with pickets.
But he knows they were.
We know they weren't. But yeah.
Yeah, but he admits he knows they weren't going to do that. They were going inside.
What is the conspiracy? I'm sorry, what is the agreement to do? Because, like, if they're going to that church and the object is to disrupt the church, that's one thing. But is the object to disrupt the church and to create propaganda videos? If the agreement to disrupt the church to create propaganda videos, then he is an essential element of that conspiracy.
Yes,
right?
It's all part of the op. You document it because you want to score points.
Yeah.
100%. He's a benefactor. Don wasn't interviewing; he was lecturing people on the group's ideology.
Mm-hmm.
True.
That's true.
True. He was, or sometimes he would do it in the form of a question. Like I like some of those are you ashamed of your actions? It's like, that's not really a question. I mean, at least, fake it and front load it and say, some people have been critical about the activities that are going on. Do you have a response? Would be an appropriate question, but saying, are you ashamed of what you're doing? Like you're talking to a 4-year-old. Are cameras film even permitted in churches? I don't know. It depends.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of services are filmed all the time by the services. So
yeah, they film themselves. So
yeah. Question for panel: possible charge for race component? Commentary King. Hey, how you doing, Drag?
Any hate crime component to it?
I
don't think so, because they were all white parishioners and all the protesters were white too, except for
not all of them. There's a mix.
Yeah, but most, like the high majority of those protesters happen to be white.
The fact we're this far, I am surprised, because Peabody normally doesn't deliver, and when they've tried to do things, he's
it's fair. It was Harmeet Dillon, but
well, it's still under her. It's still under Peabody's watch. These are the same people who bungled James Comey and Letitia James's prosecutions.
Oh my god!
So I am thrilled it got this far, because the video that I've been working on that was going to get released yesterday, I was not holding out any hope anything would ever happen at all. So we're already, my wildest dreams have been surpassed.
And again, I think that reaching and having to give yourself as a prosecutor, right, upping the burden, because all it is an enhancement. And I'm not a big fan of these racial enhancement aggravators either, because
I'm not either.
It's like, if you get murdered, okay, the crime is murder, first degree murder. It's like, well, but he wasn't murdered for racial reasons. I mean, I don't care if it's murdered for racial reasons or theft reasons or whatever. Murder is first degree murder. It's very
you mean that hate crime seems redundant? Like you didn't hate him when you killed him? You only hate him now?
Don't worry about it. There's no hate involved in it. He just hacked him to death, and he didn't hate him. I mean, it's like, to me, it's a little ridiculous, these hate crimes legislation, where we're basically taking a felony and enhancing it because of the motive, and the motive of being racist. Like, that's a worse motive than monetary gain or a worse motive for just being an idiot or being territoriality or all the other reasons for murder. So I'm just sort of like, again, let's charge it at what it is and leave it at that and not be upset because it's a hate crime. Now we're arguing about something. Again, why have that argument when we all agree that the felony fits, right? That's just my opinion. What do I?
Oh, no, that's fine. Okay. Some of these, like this one here, I'm just letting you know, because we're getting so backlogged, this is kind of a statement and not a question. So some of these I'm just going to be putting up on the screen and going by. So please understand, we will not be able to read everyone out loud. We're backing up more. And in fairness to everybody, it can't be just a super chat reading stream because that would be a little bit out of hand. Good comment here. He was sitting in the back, not just filming with commentary. He actually interrupted. That's not a ride along. That's a good point. He's a participant at that point. Sure. Especially the second the pastor said, please leave, then it starts to, the clock is ticking here. What stops somebody from going with their buddy to commit a murder and saying, I was just a witness? Well, yeah.
But I think it's fact dependent. It's don't think it's because law it's fact dependent. It's not. There's no overarching rule. You got to have more facts to this than that. Was he a journalist?
And I'm afraid of too many analogies. Start arguing the analogy and you get sidetracked.
Just remember, you're not Don Lemon, so this won't work for you.
Lemon's acknowledging his presence would stop plans. Is what makes him a conspirator. He adjusted his actions in order to help them push their plan. That was something I said earlier, and I think it does lend to that jigger me up if you know it's me. -17 here, unless God, I hate it for you. Good luck. Good luck. Of course, you're probably prepped. Crossing state lines. Good question. I don't know if he did.
Yeah, the Cal Rittenhouse. Yeah. Well,
but that was with a weapon,
and that could get you. Well, the fact that he crossed state lines gives federal jurisdiction. So they're saying if Don Lemon crossed state lines to do this, then that gives him another bite at another charge. But don't worry about it. It's not. It's not. I don't think it's
nothing there with that. Yeah.
What was the other one with the?
Thank you for the respectable content. Content. Yeah. They're talking about Elon when Elon gave Don Lemon his thing, and Don Lemon tried to turn it into an opportunity. From laid back law to laid back journalist. Not always laid back.
And let's get this last one.
He did ask him. Yes, asked him to leave. Thank you. If you have respect for our Constitution and our amendment rights, debating Don Lemon's culpability is a non-starter. Okay, that's weird. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the $4.99.
Don't forget that they charged a man with the Klan Act for a meme, and he was found guilty. Eventually, was overturned later.
Yeah, that's Ricky Vaughn, Douglas Mackey. That was the guy with the "Don't go vote."
Yeah, which was ridiculous. £2. Thank you. We're getting close now. Do you have a clip with the old man?
Yeah, that guy.
It's coming up. It's coming up right now.
Awesome. Good. Thank you for signaling. Don Lemon stated while standing next to the Minnesota DA on camera that he coordinated with a group. When has the journalist defense worked before? Well, this is going to be a precedent-setting case. If it,
this is like a first, like this is really like this would be a law school hypothetical before last week.
Because you could make good arguments.
And the left, the mob tactics are very well refined on the Antifa left. If you look at how they generate these things, and it's active intimidation by mobs, and they get this crowds, and so like they'll have layers. They'll have the front people, and they're trying to create systems where there's somebody attacking them, and they're victim with a balloon and a little candy bar, right? And what they'll do is they'll have people that will attack and then run back into the crowd. They'll have the filmers. They'll have the line of innocent victims who are getting in the way, and it's all theater. But it's the politics of the mob that they're playing on, and people are. And the problem they remember like Reginald Denny and how dangerous mobs. Did you see this guy that was attacked because he's against Islam or something? He's pulled off the church, and the mob.
I know. Yeah, we can't show that because of YouTube.
The mob is very dangerous, and people are in their cars driving, and they get mobbed and they're attacked. This is a very bad tactic, but yet it It has been refined and perfected and utilized and weaponized by the left, and people are reacting because they really hate that mob, these mob attacks, and so they're seeing in this a mob attack that they resent, and they want to hammer these people. And I'm with it.
Well, let me. This is probably the most egregious part of them yelling and screaming at us. So then we're gonna have to move to the next story. So here's the part where this is where they essentially all got charged. This is why they're getting charged with 241, the Klan Act, because of this part of it. In the corner.
And there are people here who are, I'm looking at a young man who's in the corner. He's frightened. He's scared. He's crying. People are leaving church.
Freedom! We have a duty to win! We have a duty to win! We must love and support one another! All these comfortable white people who are living lavish, comfortable lives while children are dragged into concentration camps. You're living real life, nice lives with your lattes, doing absolutely nothing for your Latino and Somali brothers and sisters. You come here to a man wearing a suit. Is a preacher? Did Jesus wear a suit? Did Jesus profit off the words? No, Jesus would dine with immigrants. You do not touch me. Touch me again and see what happens.
Hey, you can't.
You are a fake Christian. Why are you not standing with your Somali and Latino communities? Why do I not see you out at Whipple every day protesting this attack on humanity? Where are you? You're sinners. You're pretending to be Christians. But we know you live an easy life, don't you? A very easy life.
So obviously he was one of the ones that are charged. Now I do want to ask you also about the conspiracy aspect of it, because not all members of the conspiracy have to know what everyone else is doing, but they could be charged with the conduct
so like
of others in the conspiracy.
Yeah, and if he had started fighting one of those guys and the guy fell down, cracked his head, and died, felony murder. You bought your ticket, you're along for the ride. Yeah, like that would be, they'd all be responsible for it.
So now I would ask, he had just been told, leave, touch me, or see what happens, right? That's an obvious retaliatory threat, right? So I think they kind of got him cold on 241. But now, what about the actions of the co-conspirators? Could they now be impugned to Don Lemon if we didn't have the issue of whether he's in the conspiracy? Because that was the fight with
I
Cosby
think
right?
so.
But if we accept that,
you take that risk when you saddle up with people.
What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the conspiracy. Is you have an agreement. They're going in. They are actively, and to me, they're violating the Klan Act, and actions that flow out of that conspiracy to commit a felony. Like, for example, somebody died, that would be under the felony murder rule, as Sean correctly pointed out. So, these people are putting themselves at great risk. What if one of the parishioners took a gun out and defended himself and shot somebody dead? All of those conspirators could be charged with felony murder because somebody died during the commission of a felony, which is the Klan Act. It's they play with fire. These are things. It's not a good tactic. And I've got to go. I'm sorry. I have to get back to work, and this is my lunch break. I apologize for eating.
Thank you so much for taking the time and spending with us. We really
great to see everybody here. Great to see the chat. Sean, Nate, great to have you with us, and Eric, thank you for the invite.
Thank you. I think Sean's going to be deserting us too.
I got to be hitting the road here. I'm going to try to jump back in. I know I haven't had the best luck with that lately, but I'm going to be hitting out here. I did just want to say about the warrant thing coming up. This is unconstitutional as hell. I don't know, there's no way they can justify it, and it shouldn't be happening this way. There are ways to do it. This is not it.
That's a great transition into the story too, which is good.
Yeah, he ducks out. Here we go. I'll drop my opinion, then duck out. All right.
Well, no, I wanted to say it because that was something I covered last night. I am not thrilled with this. I think I think there's ways we can do it, and we can afuera everybody and still do it the right way. So. Anyways, I'll try to get back in a minute. I just need to get out on the road here, guys.
All right.
See you guys in a minute.
We'll see you in a minute.
All right.
All right. So what Sean is specifically talking about, thank you so much, Sean.
All right.
What Sean was talking about is that I don't know if can you pull it up, the story. So Michelle,
Let me find it. But yeah, it sounds like his opinion's kind of similar to my first instinct.
imagine if the roles reversed. Tucker Carlson follows a group of Proud Boys to do the exact same thing in a Somali mosque. Ellison would have already arrested them. Yes. They'd have arrested them on trespassing charges. You have the book thrown at them. Ellison could charge all these people with trespassing, right? And then the trespassing wouldn't occur on their initial going into the church. It would occur.
Is it up to Ellison, or could the church ask for charges on trespassing? Who initiates that?
They could say, yeah, we asked them to leave and they didn't leave. That would be trespassing.
I'm trying to find the article.
But then they would have to the church would have to testify and all that, and there'll be the people who would be the victims of the trespassing. And the way you trespass in the church is everybody can come in, but as soon as they say you have to leave and you refuse to leave, that's where the trespassing aspect comes.
Well, that's the same as any business, right? A store. Correct. Or what, stores open to the public. You go in, you cause trouble there, get out. Store, bar, fill in the blank. It would seem like any. All right, here we go. Here's the story. Go full screen. There you go. Go full screen. I gotta get yours pulled off. Pull yours off.
Mine out and pull yours in. There it is.
There we go. All right, so this is the basic story. There is a whistleblower who released an ICE memo. It allows agents to enter homes without a judicial warrant. And every instinct I have, this feels and seems wrong to me. I am not speaking as a lawyer. I'm just speaking as a citizen. I find this kind of frightening to consider. And I thought that there needed to be arrest warrants. You couldn't just go into people's houses willy-nilly. How do you even know that it's somebody's house? What if they're at a neighbor's or what have you, and you bust down the door and go get it? It just doesn't seem right. So Nate, am I completely off base here saying, was it Fourth Amendment that this is a problem?
So the Fourth Amendment allows searches and seizures. So an arrest is a seizure, and you need probable cause for an arrest, and a search, you need probable cause for a search. Now there's a warrant requirement generally, but for instance, like most arrests that occur are warrantless arrests because the cop either observes or probable cause is developed in a different way. So you don't need the warrant for an arrest, but a warrant is pretty much advised, and it's better if you have a judge say, hey, you have probable cause.
Well, okay, so let's clarify though, because when you say that most, well, yeah, somebody gets pulled over and then they're arrested at that point, or if they're walking outside, but somebody is inside their house, the door is closed, they're not going and now we bust down a door and go arrest. I don't know.
I just wanted to make the distinction between warrantless arrest, and now we're talking about warrantless searches. Now when you're talking about searches and seizures, the issue is that presumptively, if you go into somebody's house, it's presumed under Payton v. New York, because we looked it up, unreasonable, a violation. It's presumed, and it's on the government to show that search in that residence was lawful, didn't violate the Fourth Amendment. And the exceptions that generally count is emergency, aid, and safety, right? Somebody's hurt, aid and safety. You see that a lot with the people who make those fake 911 calls, the squatters,
swatting.
Swatters. Yeah, the swatters, what they do, and that's why police are able to break into those homes, because there's emergency aid and safety. That's one of the exceptions for a warrant exception. You also have the imminent destruction of evidence. You also have an escape piece too, which I think the government may rely on in these cases where we know this person's in there, this person's trying to escape. We can go in and destroy evidence. We can go in and do that. But again, the government would have to show some evidence that they had reason to believe that that's the case. You also have hot pursuit and consent. Consent is, hey, can I come in the house? And you say yes. And the hot pursuit is if you're chasing somebody and you see them run into the house, you can run into the house.
That's extenuating circumstances. Yeah, I think everyone would agree with that.
But now what the government, and there's two types of warrants that we can have. We can have an administrative warrant, which comes from a judge who is not a district court judge and an Article 3 judge. Those are the judges, like those are your Supreme Court judges and the judges that we generally talk about. Not so you have an administrative judge is one that's hired by the administration,
which is significant, Nate.
Yes, it's huge.
This is the same branch of government allowing itself to do something. This is not the judicial branch saying,
no, this is
hey, you can have a warrant. This is it's like the cops writing it for themselves, saying, yeah, you can do it.
Yeah, we have yes. So that's essentially what an administrative judge is. These are judges that are hired by the president to essentially do, and a lot of the ICE judges and that. So what they've done is take administrative warrants and say they're using administrative warrants to go into people's homes. Now, generally, that question now is probably going to go to court. Well, can you now use administrative warrants versus judicial warrants signed by an actual judge to go into people's homes? And the rule generally is no. Administrative warrants aren't good, but ICE is saying they are. And that's the fight. Do you have an agency signed piece of paper versus a judge issued warrant? And from my understanding, judge issued warrants don't give you the authority, don't give you probable cause to go into a house.
Judge or administrative?
I'm sorry. The agency issued warrants don't give you the authority to go into the house. But now I want to make that very clear. If you do go in, you have to have some other way of achieving probable cause versus just this piece of paper. So that's the key question here. Can a officer who is not a judge hired by the president or the executive, could they issue administrative warrants that'll be just as good as if a federal judge issued that same warrant saying there's probable cause to go into an apartment? And I think most of us are wary of that. And Eric, I think your objection to it makes total sense, because essentially it's the cops saying we can go into this house, and the check is supposed to be the judiciary saying you can go into this house because we've evaluated this, you got probable cause. So I know that was a lot to take in, but I think it's important to understand what the government is trying to say here.
Yeah, I'm not for illegal immigration. If anybody who's been paying attention for a while, I'm very much into take people out. But the idea of just breaking into people's houses, surround the house like normally happens with every other criminal out there. If there's nothing, immediate, I freely acknowledge if somebody is harming somebody, there's screams inside, that there's obviously those are circumstances, exigent or whatever you want to call them, where, yeah, you got to go in. It's something going wrong. But if there's just somebody in there, I don't feel comfortable with it. I mean, surround the house. We got you surrounded. You can't go anywhere. Go ahead, turn yourself in, as is standard. It just doesn't feel right to me that we go bust into dwellings and people say, well, they're illegals. And well, again, though, whose dwelling is it? Is this a rental? It's a landlord's dwelling. Is it this? There's so many other factors, and then it just I hate to use a slippery slope thing, but what about all the rest of us? If you're saying, hey, law enforcement just doesn't need to have this extra step, I'm bothered. I'm bothered greatly by this, because it could apply to us down the road. It doesn't feel right to me at all. And I could be completely wrong in the law, but in my heart, it feels wrong.
Well, let me do this. The law as is now, the case is called Payton, and it specifically says a judicial officer, right? Not an ICE official, which the ICE judges are. ICE judges are ICE officials, and a judicial officer is a judge who is sworn in, the president, or a magistrate judge who is sworn in under the judiciary. So this is the key. Now, it hasn't been fanned out yet, but the Trump administration's argument is that their ICE judges or ICE officials are essentially neutral enough to make the determination on probable cause. And the other side is saying ICE judges are not, the people who you hire to be judges are not neutral parties. They work for you.
Right.
And the judiciary is neutral parties, and the case law says it has to be a judicial officer. So those are the two competing interests. potentially criminal. What do you think? Do you think an ICE judge, which is a ICE agent essentially and an ICE official, do you think they're neutral enough to be able to satisfy the neutrality of a judicial officer under Payton?
No, not at all. I mean, these guys are DOJ employees, and that's all these administrative judges and these immigration judges. They're hearing officers. I mean, they're called a judge, quote unquote, but they're a hearing officer. It's, you know, they're not appointed by the president and confirmed by the Senate. They're not, you know, distanced far enough away from things. I mean, this is, you know, these are not warrants that allow you to go in a home. And yeah, Payton's where, you know, it all starts, that you need a warrant to get into a home. You need an actual warrant from an actual judge. And I think that's how it has to happen.
No check or balance here. The check and balance question is where I'm coming at. Like, why couldn't we have under the judiciary administrative judges just, you know, okay, that's your role, but it's under the judiciary, and then the people have to go to them and say, oh, yes or no. Okay, so let's just use that then.
The magistrate judges. So we do have that.
Okay, so then I mean, obviously it's not working well in Minnesota with that current case of Don Lemon, but it still feels more appropriate because it is another branch of government that you're going to and saying, yes, hey, is this cool? We got to do this stuff. Yeah, here you go. Sign up and go. The idea that, you know, the same department is checking themselves just doesn't.
Well, let me do this. Let me lay out the arguments for both sides, because I have them written down here. The argument that the Trump administration is making: these are administrative warrants, then they still rest on probable cause and due process. So there is due process, there is probable cause. They're saying the targets have final removal orders, and they're exercising their full lawful authority to go and retrieve them. And they are not searching for evidence; they are arresting people, and the warrant gives them the right to go in. The civil rights argument, the counter argument that the plaintiffs are making, is that the Fourth Amendment decides, and the Constitution demands a neutral judge under Payton, not the same agency doing the same thing, because that brings an internal conflict. The agency, if the agency judge doesn't do what the agency wants, they could be fired. Also, even an arrest warrant doesn't automatically justify entry into a third-party home. You still need a general search warrant to that location unless one of the warrant exceptions like exigency exists. So on one side, they're saying, yes, this is a neutral party, it's a judge, and we have probable cause, so that's why we're doing it. So we don't even need the warrant. And the other side says, well, Payton says you do need a warrant, and unless you have exigency and all of the recognized exemptions, then these arrests are illegal. Now, I tend to agree with the civil rights side. I think these warrants are no good. But what say you guys, Eric? Well,
I want to address this chat here, who actually goes right in. So, F rule of law if a partisan judge refuses to sign warrants. Well, again, they can stand outside and say you are surrounded, and eventually the person's going to have to leave or do something, and they can arrest them at that point.
I mean, and there's, you know, and this is where it's kind of like the idea of jury nullification. If a judge is refusing to give you probable cause, I mean, you know, that stems the break. Like,
it is what it is.
Try to get that judge removed. You know, check. You know, they have a measure, you have a countermeasure. Like, I mean, there's not like sometimes that's how that works. And also, I guess in the end of the day, I mean, it'd be far more based if more judges refuse to sign warrants. But hey, you know, that's another topic for another day.
Look at these super chats before they start piling up on us. Was the judge's refusal to sign Donald's arrest warrant an example of being an activist judge or careful consideration of the implications? The judge is saying that he didn't have probable cause to believe that Don Lemon committed a crime because, number one, he doesn't believe that Don Lemon was part of the conspiracy, which you need, which is one of the elements. If he found Don Lemon was part of the conspiracy, then he's going to get arrested because everything else falls into place, because you don't actually need Don Lemon to commit the other elements. Other people committing the elements is all part of the conspiracy. So he's essentially got. But the judge specifically said he doesn't believe Don Lemon there's not enough evidence in front of him that shows that Don Lemon was a part of the conspiracy, that he was covering it, and that because even though he had foreknowledge of what was going to happen, how it was going to happen, and planning, that wasn't enough to say he was part of the conspiracy.
That's his claim, and others may disagree.
Yes, that's the judge. That's the judge, not me. This is day one shock memo, in my opinion, and the EO and the posture of the policy, and is not likely to be in place today. Timing of leaks suggests framing media commentary dissent from primary and midterm wedges angles, but they also have a case where they actually did this. They actually
Right. They are currently doing it. So
this is
memo, not memo. Yeah. I mean,
and to be technical, like you'll hear some people saying, well, illegal immigrants don't have the same rights as U.S. citizens, but in this particular case, going into a home, you still need that warrant, no matter who's in there, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, you guys can hear me okay still, right?
yeah, it's crappy, but we're dealing
I'm
with it.
sorry.
It's all right.
No, we can still hear you. Go ahead.
I don't care about their rights. I care about my rights. I don't want the police just being able to walk down the hall to, another guy who works in the police department and getting a warrant to come to my house. It's not their. I don't care about them. I care about me. I don't want this happening to me.
Exactly. Well, that's that slippery slope argument that I was saying.
And I think, and that's the biggest thing there. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having a selfish interest in guiding your constitutional rights policy.
Amen to that. Yeah.
Well, it's not even selfish. I mean, the rights are not. They're not a grant. They're an affirmation. The Bill of Rights, in my opinion, is an acknowledgement of, oh, these are your rights we acknowledge. Like they pre-existed our government, our existence. That's the way I view it.
Well, I'm saying, like, screw these people. I don't care about them. I really don't. If they get, they got to go back to wherever the hell they're from. Okay, great. I'm more worried about me because we see it enough where the cops get a warrant, they hit the wrong house, and the Supreme Court just recently, the FBI hit a house and it was the wrong house. They were blocks away. They blew down the door, threw in flashbangs, pointed guns at everybody, and they said, "Oh, sorry," and they left. Those people had to go to the Supreme Court to just get the right to sue the FBI and the DOJ.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, it was a crazy case. This is one. Thank you for your insight. Being in Texas, I understand Steve's having to turn down the air. Gosney. Jake, the lawyer, covered this in depth. There is case law covering admin warrants. Yes, there is case law, but right now they're saying admin warrants are good enough, and we're saying they're not. Slippery, yes. Private property rights diminished. I think that's Eric's argument. The problem is that the judiciary is no longer neutral, and we all know it. But the thing is, I would say an ICE judge with an administrative warrant isn't neutral either, though, right? An ICE judge isn't neutral. So I don't know how you'd get past through that. You are debating the final points of law. The left Antifa judges, juries are exercising more power. Only a sheep plays this game as written. But the thing is,
I disagree with that. I get the idea of, oh, well, they don't follow the rules, so screw it. So you know what? Eventually, this escalates out, and we become like South Korea, where the former president, they're asking for the death penalty. So I'm just saying, you can't. A lot of people are very upset about January 6ers, right? Look how things can spawn completely out of control. You shouldn't say, oh, well, they did these things. No, you should be going after and prosecuting them and correcting the record and things like that. Not just saying, okay, it's our turn, because then it's not always going to be our turn. And it's going to be their turn again. And we see how these things go.
And last super chat is, thank you. You guys and for all the guests replaced all my Netflix, etc.
Thank you.
Subscriptions. Reason for craziness, true conversation, real debates, and a dash of normal in the real reality show game Wrong Life. I can't read. A dash of normal in this reality show gone wrong life. That's what you said. So I'm so sorry I read that wrong. But it seems like the majority of us all agree that we're not happy with administrative warrants. We don't want it, and we do understand your concerns that, hey, the judiciary is essentially coded like in Minnesota, right? It's but the thing is that these protections aren't for them; it's for us. And if you allow this to happen, where essentially what we're talking about is your local police department generally now has to go to a judge and say, we want to go into this house.
Yeah.
And that judge doesn't work for the police department. It's a total separate branch of government, and it's supposed to be neutral and say, okay. But now we're talking about the police don't go to a judge. They go to someone who works for the police department and say, hey, this is the probable cause. And that guy says, you know what? Yeah, even though I work for you and we all work together, I'm going to sign this because I'm a neutral party. Because it's going to be hard for me to believe that another cop is going to be neutral enough to be able to sign that warrant, and it's just not going to be rubber stamped. What do you think, Sean?
Oh, I think there's the impartiality issue, but there's just enough of when judges and magistrates are involved, the police still hit the wrong house, that they mess up, they don't do things right. And if that happens when we're using the full Fourth Amendment properly, we're only going to exacerbate those issues. And, it's, all it takes is an ICE agent to think, Jose Rodriguez is living in your house right now. That's what it takes. Like, I think he's living there right now. I have reason to believe it. Well, if he's wrong, oops. Based on
Eric,
this, it's like, I'd like a magistrate to be able to say, how do you know?
And Eric, and that was your biggest concern too, right? Where are the limits to this thing? Because that's when we were talking earlier. That was one of the issues that you were bringing up.
Yes, I mean, again, it just try to take away the roles from everybody, and then just back up at 7. Just say, okay, rules have changed now. Cops don't need warrants to go in your house. They can just go in. Because that's kind of what it is. It's like, you know what? We're done with that whole Fourth Amendment thing. We're not really worried about it. They can go in. That's what seems like is happening.
Which I think we can all agree that again, it just may be too much. 2/3 of the government already happy to play cover your CYA, cover your blank, and refuses to hold each other accountable. They already blah blah blah. I'm not even sure what that stands for the leftists. Bend over backwards for the leftists, and won't give taxpayer accountability. I think a lot of that's true. If you just watch a couple of my videos, you can see. I'm curious as to prosecutors followed people out of the church. Protesters followed people out of the church. They did. Did they mean anything for the law? Did they mean anything for the law that they broke? You can maybe add for the harassment, but really it's the stopping the church services that matter. So I think following them out, because again, the fact that they were to leave kind of gives you the FACE Act, because the FACE Act is about blocking access. So it actually helps them that they follow people outside because they allow people to enter and leave. Maybe I'm behind. Has the letter been confirmed to be as real? We don't know, but the news papers are reporting it as real.
It hasn't been denied. I don't have all the clips on hand because it was last minute. I believe they've actually addressed that they're doing this, and it might even be JD Vance, but somebody of the administration said, well, if it goes to court and something is deemed there, the policy may change. So it kind of was a soft admittance that we're doing that.
And last but not least,
you and I are fighting each other.
Last but not least, judges will also issue unlawful warrants as Republican congressmen. Which, if again, if
right, so let's not increase the pile.
Let's not. So now we just take the judges out. So with that being said, we've been here for an hour and a half, and we really hope you enjoyed this legal breakdown of these particular hot issues. We understand not everybody's going to agree with us, but what we try to do is at least let you know here's kind of what the law says. This is how we feel about it, and this is how we think about it as not only attorneys, just as people who live here in the United States. So please, generally, when you think about this show, understand that we're coming forward to really try to understand what's happening. And sometimes we all are going to disagree, but that disagreement doesn't mean that you're wrong. It just means that sometimes the law doesn't allow us to go as far as a lot of people seems like in the comments want. Who is the third person coming in and out? Oh, that's Sean.
That's Sean, potentially criminal. Everybody definitely follow him on YouTube. He does this analysis. He struggles with his phone connection when he comes on stream, as you can tell. That's the in and out. But we still like Sean. And if you guys rewind, he was on earlier and even on camera for, I think, a minute or two. So
Just a minute. Just a minute.
Just a minute. Just a minute. So listen. So right now we're about to get out of here. It's been an hour and a half. Thank you to our guests for all coming. Thank you guys for all showing up. And we'll be here next week, Friday, and we'll have some more interesting stories for you. Hopefully we understand. And before we go, I'll ask everybody, what do you guys think about the possibility, the chances that the government will actually charge Don Lemon? Because I'm assuming they're going to be headed to the grand jury. Or so just so everybody understands, even though the magistrate judge did not sign the warrant, that doesn't stop them. They can still arrest him if they believe they have probable cause. They can do a warrantless arrest, which I'm assuming they're not going to do. They can also go to a grand jury and get the grand jury to indict, and that would give them probable cause.
Even that, though, is a stretch because, I mean, it didn't exactly work with Letitia James. And if the grand jury is made up by citizens in the area and they tilt very much against ICE, then that may fall flat. I don't know.
And then you have the third option where you can have an Article 3 judge. You could go take it to an Article 3 judge, or you can judge shop this. You can just go to another magistrate. You can judge shop it to see if someone believes that it's probable cause. So there are many different ways they can do it. And I think eventually they're going to, because to charge someone, you need probable cause, a very low bar. So I think eventually they're going to get them. The other three I think they got. It's Don Lemon who I think they want. So what say you, Sean? I think Sean is gone.
I'm like 15% confident this is going to happen.
You think they're going to charge him?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I think it's like 15% successful.
1-5.
Yeah, I'm not holding my breath on that one.
I'm with Sean.
Yeah, 1-5.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to charge Don. Well, we'll see. So I think it's 50-50. They think 15%, but we will see. So with all that being said, for Eric, Sean, and everyone, thank you so much. And thank you so much for this last super chat. We're going to read it, and now we're going to hit the end stream button. So here it is. Does it matter if no papers were searched and seized? No. Entry alone, that's what matters. No evidence of a crime is being collected, does not matter. They are just arresting the person with the deportation order. Well, that is a search. If the person's inside the house and they go into the house, the evidence they're collecting is the person. The person, instead of seizing papers, like you just said, they are seizing a person. That is a search. And then the what comes from that search is a seizure. The seizure is of a person. You can seize people or things. So in your question, you've tried to distinguish them all. But if the person's inside a property, you need lawful authority to go in, and then you need lawful authority to seize. So in your particular situation, yes, they would need lawful authority to go in, and they would need lawful authority to seize the person. So yes, if they don't have a warrant to go into the property, the seizure or whatever in that property would not be lawful. Sean,
yeah, you do have the lawful authority to subscribe to this channel and catch this stream next week, next Friday. And you never know, there may even be an earlier stream during the week. So if you're subscribed, you'll know if we come online. We just did a surprise stream yesterday. Things can happen. Consider subscribing. And everybody, thank you so much. See you on the next one.